All right, so like two conversations happened over the past, I'm gonna say 4 days, because like by Friday I was already like kind of moving away from the previous environment. So just as an update, I am shifting from a small desks in the middle of everyone to a desk where I can be alone, a more private desk. I think they call it designated. So designated desks basically mean more serious people, maybe. I have no idea. I've been with some before, and at the very least, you get your own space to kind of like work. Right now, while doing that and approaching that, just like felt a bit more, my decision making process was towards to welcome a certain break, which is the shift between this point and that point. And came about with a conversation of that friend of mine from work. We call her a friend of mine, although like our relationship is kind of just like this kind of engagement. But I truly value her. I value how me and her discuss things and how we open up to things, because I get to see stuff from my side and I get to see stuff from her side. And it seems like she completely looks at the world from the different angle that I do, which kind of like builds a certain connection in my head to like how I could have been if I had like thought of things differently. But beautifully, we had a conversation with her about tranquility, and she mentioned that at how these kind of like these empty slots that used to be in your head, your memory, your thought process. These are the things that you kind of are not able to fill on your own. You're not able to kind of like complete on your own. And if you're to look at how the flow of the world, life works around you, specifically for me, like I mean, like I don't know, it's just like it's not a believing mentality. It's more it is happening. Like I haven't seen my dad properly in about like 2, 3 months. And it's normally not just that. It's just like he's always summertime. He's always very busy with his friends, his family, his not his family. Yeah, his direct family, like my aunts and like my mom and my aunts. And I tend to not necessarily want to be a part of that everyday life, because just drinking tea every day and coffee and just talking and barbecuing and eating is like a lot of energy and a lot of activity that goes nowhere super fucking fast. They just love it. For them, that time is super fucking precious and they shouldn't be wasting it. And I completely understand it. I just like reasonably look at it as like, how can me repeating the same day over the next 5, 6 weeks remind me of anything other than like the summer as a whole? We don't remember those days. We just remember the whole summer was a vibe, whatever. But so with my mom out of town and with him coming, I figured that'll be the perfect opportunity for me to hang with him fully, like to fully just be around him and be like doing stuff with him and all that those good things. And it happened with a bit of like other things last week. Like there was an issue with the gym, and there was like an issue actually with work. And there are like a couple of things that kind of like are pointing in a, hey man, change, change, change. If you want change, if you want change. It is fun for me to see these things, but I don't necessarily understand how I actually relate to them. And for the longest time, I've been saying in Beirut that I actually do not necessarily go to the mountains and do not actually spend time here. And part of me probably sees that I actually don't kind of want to confront something about myself that has something to do with the mountains. And this just popped in. It's not like I thought of it before. This just popped in. But I figured, man, it'll be a good idea for me to hang out with my dad for 5, 6 days and just spend time here. Although I don't like the fact that I left my cats at home or that I'm barely like with them. They're they just have themselves and they have fun themselves. But it feels like whatever it is I'm doing right now, from the structure that I'm actually trying to like kind of step into with the new format of my environments and the deeper step back, because right now, like, we actually will have over the next couple of days, months, like daily things that I have to consider in terms of the work that I'm building for the people of Iraq. And I would have like a platform, a course that I have completed under my wing in order for me to like apply to this website that I'm doing. And on top of all of that, I'll actually have like the course I'm getting into next month, which is basically the business analysis. So for some reason, I felt like it was necessary for me to spend some time with my dad, and we get to talk. We get to talk about good stuff. I even wrote it here, man. Like I wrote a couple of things that we talked about over the past couple of days. But yeah, his presence is very much uh, something I want to say that takes my mind off of things or allows the things that I have been like exploring in my head to kind of like pour out. And that's the word tranquility. Because there's a certain, and it's not like his position in my life as a father. We could actually discuss that sometime in the future. Because I'm a very much Jungian kind of guy. So there are a couple of things that I read about Jung, and they basically talk about that, like important deaths in your family kind of change you, but they don't have to be actual deaths. They could be like a metaphorical death or a figurative one, right? So just getting out of the thought that your father is your father, and then kind of like allow, creating, allowing your persona to be one that he looks at more, not as his son, but more as the grown up that you are, kind of shifts the dynamic and allows like a different way to kind of like bond or just trust each other and good stuff like that. But so like these, all of this was just like reasoning in my head that made sense, and I said yes to it, but I had no fucking idea what the outcome could be. I also postponed registering my actual space so that I can save like 5, 6 days, and within these 5, 6 days, the goal is to actually like create a budget for the guy that's paying me to actually send me money instead of always going like, why don't you, why don't you, why don't you? So maybe that's something I need to finish today as well. I need to finish the budget. How do you write a budget when you don't even know what you're gonna give the people that are gonna be working with you? Like they're not giving me what I need, man, in order for me to sit and go this and this and this and this. They're not. I have to estimate that shit. And if my estimations are off, then how do we deal with it? How do we deal with this stuff? Anyways, the whole point of this conversation is tranquility and how just knowing that there's a small space where you can find like yourself peaceful, tranquil, enjoyable, rational, understanding kind of opens up your head to consider whatever it could be that's around you. It kind of like settles you down. It's like explaining the river and how like the water is always eager to go down, and the whole change in water and the interaction with rocks and everything around it adds to its minerals, nutrients, and even oxygen. But it only ever like understands what it has accumulated when it actually settles down in a pondish thing, in a lake thing, and it's just like slower water for it to kind of like release other stuff that accumulate with it. That's where like the stuff sifter to the bottom, right? So tranquility and how we seek it, or whether it is actually a side effect to our kind of like detachment from things, or our side effect to how our engagements with things. And I felt like this is a perfect opportunity for me to kind of like just go out of where I am and just sit, chill, build, allow whatever I have been reflecting on to like fall into place. Okay. And it always like points in its own direction, right? Like you're not the person that does these things. You're not. Because like if you were more aware, you would be putting them in place from the beginning. Because all you're doing is collecting them as you move around, and you're following the things that attract you, and you're trying to give them attention in order for you to kind of like show you stuff. And then when they do, you kind of have to decide what are the stuff that's going on. And normally we don't do that. We normally just allow it to happen. We normally allow it to be just like one of those cases where just show me what you got, man. And if you put them all on the table, then your mind kind of like does its thing where it sorts them, compartmentalizes them, and goes like, okay, now you have more space to go fuck around. Um, Definitely a more fun way to look at it. Definitely. Tranquility. The word itself makes me feel like the lake is calm, and then one drop goes, and that drop, the sound it makes, is literally how tranquility is defined. Like a calm lake does not mean it's tranquil, but when a drop of water hits, and the whole lake kind of like makes that sound, that's the definition of tranquility in my head for some reason. Thank you.